The first area of Dead Cells I wanted to show off and discuss in detail is the Promenade of the Condemned, and the ramparts or ossuary it leads to. The Promenade is one of the first two areas you can access from your prison cell you start out in. And you can only go to the ossuary if you have the teleportation rune unlocked. Otherwise you'll have to head on up to the ramparts. The archers and shield zombies from the previous level likely won't be in the Promenade, but the regular zombies and the grenadiers will still be here. In addition to having the zombies and grenadiers of the prison area outside your cell, you have to worry about wood totems that can protect all the enemies within a radius around them. If you see some enemies with a glowing red orb of energy around them, do your best to ignore or stay away from them and rush the wood totem to make the rest of the enemies easier to kill. The zombies are those green guys that just try to leap at you from a distance, or swipe at you if you're up close. They're not much of a threat on their own, which is why they're usually supported by more zombies, or other types of enemies. The grenadiers are those red guys with weird, mutated heads. They can shoot their red orb grenades at you through the walls and floors of the levels, so be careful when entering an area with them. They're great at forcing you to stay on the move, because the only place safe from their attacks is someplace you aren't already at. Stand still too long, and they'll destroy you. You should also watch out for these little flying enemies that try to ram you. They only take one hit to kill, but the fact that they fly around makes them harder to hit and kill than grounded enemies. There's also a teleporting swordsman who will keep teleporting to you, making escape nearly impossible. The huge swords they swing had a large attack radius, making rolling behind them the best option. The Promenade is also the first area that has environmental traps. I realize that the toxic sewers have those puddles of poisoned water, but I consider them to be less of environmental traps, and more like environmental decorations. The spikes littering the Promenade don't move, but they make traversing the castle while avoiding enemy attacks much more difficult. I like the rotating spike balls interspersed between the spikes in this level that add a bit more danger to the platforming aspect of this game. The blood spatter you leave behind on traps you were hit by is a nice touch, and a grisly reminder of your failures in a level. This level has a lot of dead ends, and the teleporters placed around a level help prevent a lot of tedious backtracking. Backtracking is never fun in any game, but it's especially detrimental in this one where speed is rewarded, and rapidly working your way through the levels is rewarded more than taking your time to find all the corners and hidden secrets in each level. I don't recommend leaving this level without finding or buying both skills you can have equipped at once. It doesn't really matter what skills you get, you'll need the extra damage they can do, or time they can buy you for escape in the upcoming levels. Especially if you've unlocked the teleportation rune and are heading for the ossuary. It's more dangerous than the ramparts are, even though the ramparts level leads to the first boss fight. After you've fought the incomplete one, amusing name for a boss, in my opinion, a few times, you'll learn his attacks and be able to deal with him without too much trouble. One heavy-hitting boss isn't as difficult as a horde of enemies surrounded by traps that will also hurt you. And if you were able to unlock the ossuary by this point anyway, you'll likely agree. The elites you have to fight like many bosses to unlock the different runes aren't nearly as difficult as the journey to them each time. That's not to say the bosses or mini-bosses are overly easy, no, much like Dark Souls managed to pull off so well, Dead Cells has found a way to perfectly balance the difficulty between the journey to a boss each time, and the actual boss itself. Getting that difficulty just right makes it more rewarding when you finally defeat the boss and makes the journey seem less tedious and daunting, and more challenging and rewarding. Much like Dark Souls, the first few attempts seem pretty daunting and challenging, but as you learn the basic layout of the levels, as well as what enemies to expect and how they act and react to you, it becomes rewarding rather than daunting. Like overcoming a difficult obstacle and being rewarded with the knowledge and feeling that you'll never have that much difficulty with it again because you've improved. Visible, tangible signs of improvement are an excellent reward mechanism used by many industries, but I always felt the video game industry did the best job of it. It's easy to tell when you've improved at a certain game because you'll be capable of accomplishing whatever task in that game you were unable to complete before. For this kind of game, it's usually working your way through each level without dying so you can get to the bosses and beat the game. Each new thing you unlock, whether it's a new level, boss, weapon, or skill, is something you can point to and recognize as a sign of improvement and accomplishment. Obviously that's true for almost all games, especially roguelite games, where the point is not only to try and beat the game in one life, but to improve your character by unlocking more and better things for them to use to try and beat the game. It's an aspect of games that has always appealed to me. I don't mind permanently dying with my character if I know that I can do my best with them, and the better I do, the more they'll unlock to make my next character's journey a little easier. Anyway, back to the Promenade of the Condemned. It's probably the easiest level you can go to outside of your prison cell, so if you're looking to just practice and sharpen your skills in this game while working towards the first boss, I would recommend this path. While you can reach the ramparts, and subsequently the first boss, from the toxic sewers, I think that path is more difficult and more likely to lead to accidentally dying, which will lose all the cells you're trying to collect to unlock better stuff for future runs. There isn't anything in the Promenade level that causes damage over time, so if you get hit and can escape or kill what's threatening you, you can easily just heal. Provided you have at least one of the healing charges unlocked and haven't used them all up already. There also aren't going to be any enemies that pop up out of nowhere. If it hasn't changed since I unlocked it, right from the start of the Promenade, if you can get up on top of where you start the level, there should be a blueprint for a weapon. Speaking of blueprints and weapons, another good item to try and unlock quickly with your cells would be the Hunter's Grenade I mentioned in my first video. It'll make enemies drop blueprints if they have any to drop for you. There are so many blueprints for skills, weapons, and shields in this game, and the more you get, the more variety and options you have for your playstyle. If you're just trying to speed run the game, the Promenade is probably a better option than the sewers, too, because you can just run along the top of the level to reach the ramparts and the next level. The ramparts entrance will always be at the top of the level, and the ossuary entrance will always be near the ramparts entrance. You only have to go down in the dead end sections of the level if you're looking for new skills or weapons to find or buy. If you can complete the area outside your cell and reach the time-locked door near the entrance to the Promenade, it will be down in one of those dead end sections. By the way, within 2 minutes, you can get the reward behind the locked door. You have to complete this level within 6 minutes though, and get to the time-locked door in the ossuary or ramparts within 8 total minutes if you want that area's time-locked rewards as well. The time-locked rewards will be an increasing number of gold and cells, as well as a scroll of power to improve your character. Anyway, I think about here's where I'm going to end this video. I'm almost at the end of the level in this gameplay I recorded of the Promenade, and there's not that much to say about this level. It's the first one, so it's not much more difficult than outside your cell is. The really interesting and dangerous levels come later. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the section below. If you like what you saw of Dead Cells and are interested in seeing more of the game, consider checking out my other videos on the game, or consider picking it up on Steam or console if you only have a console. And stay safe till next time. Error. Error. Error.